Okay, so here I am in the command prompt, and I'm running this program from the command prompt because I'll be using a text editor called Sublime Text, and Sublime Text doesn't run user input from the text editor itself. It requires one to run programs from the command prompt if the programs involve user input, which this program does. So I will run Python. I'll run the program. Bagels. Okay, so what we get is this. I'm thinking of a 3-digit number with no repeated digits. Try to guess what the number is. Here are some clues. When I say Pico, that means one digit is correct but in the wrong position. When I say Fermi, one digit is correct and in the right position. When I say Bagels, no digit is correct. So for example, if the secret number was 248 and your guess was 843, the clues would be Fermi Pico, because Fermi is one digit is correct and in the right position, and Pico is a clue that one digit is correct but in the wrong position. So you get some clues to guess the 3-digit number. And the program will think of a 3-digit number. It says here, I have thought up of a number, and I have 10 guesses to get it. So guess one, I'll just put these in, 123, and you get the drift. You just have to guess the number, right? And so yeah, guess one, guess two, guess three, guess four. What if I put in no number? If I put in no number, it'll give me another chance. I'll do it again because I haven't actually used up that guess, because I actually haven't given a number yet. If I put in more than 3 digits, it'll still stay as guess 4. If I only put in 1 or 2 digits, it'll still stay as guess 4. So I need to put in 3 digits for the guesses to be used up. So guess number 6, guess number 7, guess number 8, guess number 9, and guess number 10, and guess number 10 now. And so after guess number 10, it'll say that I've run out of guesses, and it'll tell me what the answer was, because up here it says I've thought up of a number. So it'll let me know what number the computer thought up of. And then it asks me, do I want to play again? So if I put in nope or no or nope, I can put in anything, like as long as it starts with an N, and it'll exit the program. So that's the program, and now I'm going to show how I coded up this program in Python. The first thing I'm going to do is create a doc string to describe the program. In this case, it's a game, so I'm going to describe the game. This will help me write the code because it should provide clues as to what the code needs to do and whether or not I need to ask for user input or not. So I'm going to create a doc string, and I'm just pasting in the description of the program. Bagels is a deductive logic game. The user aims to guess a secret 3-digit number. Hints include the words Pico for a correct digit in the wrong place, Fermi for a correct digit in the correct place, and Bagels for none of the guesses digits are in the secret number. The user has a maximum amount of guesses per game, with the option to play again or quit the program. The second step is to write some functions. The first function I'm going to write is the getSecretNumber function, because this function deals with providing a random number, a random secret number. And then the second function I'm going to write is the get clues function, because that deals with clues and providing the user with the clues Fermi, Pico, and Bagels. And then the last function I'm going to write is the main function, because this function will tie it all together, and it will deal with maximum guesses, number of guesses, and user input, and it'll tie it all together. And it pretty much does this mostly within a while loop. So let's get started with writing our first function. And the first function I'm going to write here is the get secret number function. The way that I'll start writing that is by defining a numbers variable, and I'm going to create a list 6, 7, 8, 9, because we need to keep in mind that this program uses no integer values, but rather string values that contain numeric digits. For example, the string 426 is a different value from the float, or the integer 426. Right? They're two different types. One's a string, one's an integer. And we need to do this because we are performing string comparisons with the secret number, not math operations. So the reason we use list and we put it in a string is for that reason. But also, if I just show you, if I print out this, each element in the list is a string. If I were to say use range 10, which might come more naturally to you, and I were to print out that, each element is not a string, it's just a list. Now you can change this so it will be each element will be a list, but it's easy. It's good to know that the easiest way to do it is like this. So now we have a variable called numbers, and what I will do next is I want to shuffle the list of numbers, because we're trying to generate a random number. So I will have to import the random module, which is a built-in module in Python, and I'll call the random module's shuffle method, and I'll call numbers with the shuffle. I'll insert numbers there, and what that will do is that will print out random numbers. So I'll run it and show that all these elements, the numbers within the list, are now going to be randomly shuffled. So that's useful because we can use that to generate a 3-digit random number a little later. And so let's move on now to creating a for loop. Now with the for loop, usually can start by saying for each digit in range number of digits. Right, so I've introduced a new variable there. Now, you'll notice here that number of digits is used all the way at the top here. Number of digits equals 3. So we could change that, the number of digits for the game, to 4 digits or 5 digits or 2 digits or 1 digit, whatever we want. But for the purposes of this program, we've just made it so there's 3 digits that the user can guess, but you can change the value. So we'll have to write up here, we have to define number of digits, and I'll just make it 3, right? So go back down to the function that we're working on here. So now we've defined number of digits. Now, for a for loop, we need to also have some sort of placeholder for the for loop to enter its value in. We'll call that secret number. So secret number, and what I'm doing here is known as an augmented assignment operator, right? So we need to get each digit from the numbers list, the list of numbers up here, and because everything needs to be a string, keep in mind that this program uses no integer values but rather string values. We gotta make sure it's a string, so we can do that. And what's happening here is you have positive, negative, and other operators for an augmented assignment operator. And so the way that works is here. If I say A equals 10, B equals 2 plus 3, and then I say A, an addition augmented assignment operator, it means that I'm adding A, 10, so 10 plus B, which is 2.3, and at the same time, with the equal sign there, I'm assigning the result to A. So notice how when I print A here, when I print this down here, it equals 12.3. So A does not have the value 10 anymore. A has the value 12.3 because the augmented assignment operator has assigned the A plus B, it's also at the same time assigned A plus B to A. So A's value has changed as the lines are read. By the time it gets from line 75 down to line 77, A's actually been assigned a new value, and that value is 12.3. So we're doing the same thing here. I'm saying I want a digit from numbers, make sure it's a string, and I want to assign, I want to add each number, each digit to secret numbers. I want to add it to secret numbers, and I want to assign each number to secret numbers until it gets to the number of digits, which is 3, right? So it's a for loop which stops at 3. If you know, so that's why that's going to generate a secret number. Then that is, it's going to return a secret number that's 3 digits long, and those digits are going to be randomly selected because up here we've shuffled it. So we will return secret number. Right, now if I run this, oh, we got an error here. So it's outside the function. Of course, we've actually got to create the function. Right? So this is how we do that. This is how I'm doing it. So I'm going, well, define, call it get secret number, and then I'll just do it like that, right? And so now, if I run this, it's okay. There's no errors in it. And with any function, it's good to put a doc string up the top. So I'll just copy this and paste this in. So what this function does is it returns a string made up of number digits, which is 3, made up of 3 unique random digits. That's what it does. And I could just add this just for you can add the comments as well if you like in there. So what we have is a duplicate now of this in here, and I'll copy and paste that with all the comments in it. It's exactly the same thing. I'll copy and paste it just for readability. Okay, so now I've done the secret number function. I'm now going to move on to the second function in all this code. The second function I'm going to write is actually the get clues function. Now, I would normally write get clues function in here, but I'm going to write it in a different file because this function is more complicated than met my eye. And so I just want to break down this function into some of its components before I start building it up. And once I've built it up though, I will then I'll then copy it and transfer it over to my main build here. So I'm just going to break it down basically, because I wouldn't write this function line by line so perfectly as this here. Yeah, everything's nice and clean and perfect. That's not how I would write this function. It will end up looking like this, but it's not how it would actually come about. What is going to come about is what I'm about to do now. So I'll start off by defining the function. I can see that as being a realistic build, and I'll just leave it without any parameters to begin with, because I don't know what the parameters are going to be yet, even though over here it's perfect and we've already done it. In reality, it's really going to be more like this. This is what's going to happen in order to get it to look like this. So no parameters to begin with, and may or may not write a doc string, but I know that I want to have something that returns a string with the clues Pico, Fermi, and Bagels. So I'd know that much, right? And I'll know that if the user's guess was the same as the secret number, like it was exactly the same, then I'd want to print out or return something like you got it. You know, that's reasonable. So already I know I've got two parameters here, so I can put those parameters into my function, and now I can start seeing what's next in this. Now I found that I wouldn't have thought of putting clues into a list, having a list object here. That's not something that would come to my mind first off. What actually would happen is I would go straight into maybe a for loop or if statement. I probably would have gone into the for loop if I was at my best. So I'm going to start writing a for loop first, and we'll move on to why the clues needs to be there later. But the next thing would be, so if I run this, it's finished, so the code's all good at that point. Now I'll go, well, for each iterator in the range of the length of the guess. Now in reality that might take a little bit longer to kind of comprehend, but that's really not that hard at the intermediate level. So that's kind of self-explanatory at the intermediate level. The length, not leg, the length of the guess, so that guess there, whatever length of that is, that's the range. So we're going to do a for loop, and it's going to run for the length of whatever the guess is. If the guess's iterator, if one of the integers in the guess is the same as the secret number, same as the secret numbers element or integer, then that means that a correct digit is in the correct place. Okay? Now, like I say, this clues here, that's not something that would come straight away. What would really happen is I would say to myself, all right, if the numbers inside the guess is the same as the number in same place as in the secret number, I would print Fermi. Right? I'll just run it. Runs alright, so that's looking good. Else, if the guess has a integer in it that's in the secret number, so it can't be a Boolean operator, because a Boolean statement, because that's saying that's true, right? It's exactly the same place. Whereas if I use in, it's just saying, well, if it's in there, if that integer is somewhere in the secret number, it doesn't have to be in the same place, then a correct digit is but it's in the incorrect place. Right, so a correct digit is there but in the incorrect place, right? And I would print out then go. So let's run this. And it's running nice, so there's no syntax errors thus far. So I'll save that, and I'll just open up a file, and I will I'll call this function to see how it's actually going to work. So from BB practice 3, that's what I've called it, import the get clues function. And now I'm calling it here get clues. I'm creating an instance here. Get clues 123, 147. Let's run this. So we get Fermi, right? Because the secret number is the second one. So if I say the secret number is 666 and I put in 546, it should come up with one thing. Yeah, it comes up with Fermi. If I go 661, it comes up with Fermi, right? So that's looking good. And the next thing I would do is I probably would create another elif statement to deal with the Bagels one. Now we'll get to why this is now this one over the right here, which is the full code, the full correct working code, nice and clean and everything working. You'll notice here that I've changed it. I'm putting an elif, else if statement, because I wouldn't have straight away thought to take it out of the indent on its own. But let's just see why. Let's just build it up slowly. So else if where have I got some notes here? Yeah, so not in. You could use not in, right? So I could go if, and then I could go else if guess if the integer is not in, right, the secret number, then what's supposed to mean is that none of the digits are correct, right? So then in that instance I would print out Bagels. Let's run that. So that this code here is all working. There's no syntax errors with it. And let's run the function here. And what you get now is Fermi Bagels, right? So Fermi's right, 6. Then it's telling me that Fermi, that place and integer is right. But the last one, 1, well, that 1's not the same as 6, because 666 is the secret number, and the guess, because we're just building it up slowly here, the guess is the first parameter and the secret number is the second parameter. So the 1, it doesn't match the 6, and so therefore it comes up with Bagels, right? So it's working, but the thing is that Bagels actually, according to the rules of the game, all the way up here you can read the rules, Bagels actually is supposed to mean that none of the digits are correct, right? So let's see. Well, yeah, so if I go 5, the problem really is you get Bagels. You get it 3 times, right? And that's not really that right. Like, it just needs to be once, because none of the digits are correct, right? You can't have picky then Bagels, because Bagels is supposed to mean that none of the digits are correct. So I either should get Bagels should appear if none of the digits are correct, and Pico and Fermi should appear if some of the digits are correct. But you can't have bagels appearing. You can't have Fermi Pico bagels or Fermi bagels or Pico bagels. You can only have Fermi, either Fermi or Pico and Fermi, or Fermi or Pico. But you can never have bagels with coming up with any of Pico or Fermi, because bagels none of them are correct. So you can't have three of them. You just really need to have just one of the bagels. I hope that makes sense. So that's why in the clean code here, they've gone from what I would normally think, okay, else, just make an else statement for it. They've gone, well, we need to take it away from its indent. So we need to take it out of the for loop and make it so it's its own if statement. And so that's what I'll do, because that's why it's done. So now we're taking it out of the for loop. And now you notice also that if I save this and I run the function, you only get bagels now, which is good. But what if I go 6 5 wide? You're still getting the same problem, right? Because it's still it's still linked back to the parameters. It's still kind of tied into the whole parameter thing, and this is still running. The for loop's running first, and then line 14's running after it. So you're going to get Fermis and Pickers and everything like that, and then you're still going to get bagels. So you still get the same problem, but we're closer to solving it. So now what the next thing would be, well, how do we fix that problem? And so rather than put not in the clean, official, proper code here, that's why we have another Boolean statement. So if the length of, now this is why you get the clues, right? So if the length of clues, right? So why do we have clues then equals 0? Well, you notice that clues is everywhere in this function. It's absolutely everywhere, and the reason is to solve this problem down here, right? That's one of the reasons. There's another reason you'll see soon. So we've got to have a something, and that something's going to be a list to store the values. We need a list to store values. So now this is where it kind of gets complicated, this function, because this is where you kind of got to go forward and back until one gets it right. Because you'll notice that it's no good me just putting in length clues equals 0. Now I'll start using the return instead of print. I can use print bagels. Right, what's going to happen now if I do that? I'll save it. Let's see what happens. The same problem happens, right? So we need to start using I'll keep the clues going on, that's fine, but it really needs to be appended to a list. And if Fermi or something doesn't append to the list, then this if statement here with the Boolean will evaluate to false. 0 evaluates to false, which means that the list will be 0, which will be false, and then it can run it will then return bagels and then print bagels. And there's an else statement here, which we'll move on to shortly. I'll just quickly grab some water. So we've still got this problem here of Fermi and Bagels showing, when all I want is just Bagels to show up. So to cut a long video shorter, this video is already very long, but I need to move on, otherwise I can go on in a lot more detail and back and forth with this. But basically it's a back and forth process. I found it to be a back and forth process to get it looking and clean like this and getting it working. So at the end of the day, the next thing to do is to make this if statement here so that Bagels is on its own. It's removed from the for loop. We need to create a list object. We've labeled it clues, and because it's an if statement, we want to see an else. What if this, then what else happens, right? So here they've returned. They've sorted the clues into alphabetical order, so their original order doesn't give information away. This is necessary, otherwise the order in which Pico et al. Is printed will be known. So if you know it's Fermi Picky, you can sort of guess it too easily, kind of. But the reason they've sorted it is so that you don't know if Fermi is the second digit in the 3-digit guess, or if Fermi is the first digit in the 3-digit guess, or if Fermi is the third digit in the 3-digit guess. So it jumbles Pico and Fermi around via the sort method, which again they've applied that method to the clues list, which is why this clues list object up here is so useful, because it contains everything. So I hope that it helps you understand this. The last thing is print. I've used print here to explain what's going on, but the last thing is you just replace that line with clues.append Fermi and then clues.append Pico, because if either of them are entered into the middle of the list, then that's a good thing. Well, that's what it is. But if either of those things don't run in the for loop, then it goes on to it. Therefore, must be there's no correct digits in the list, so it evaluates to false and it print out Bagels. And then else, like I said, we'll sort it out. We'll sort the clues. The last thing is that list is being sorted so as to not necessarily make it so easy for someone to guess, although it's still pretty hard, this game, but it makes it even harder. You could get rid of that sort of thing if you wanted to, and here it just returns and joins the what it's doing here is the join method is used to add Pico or Fermi. That's what it's joining. It's joining the clues, which are either going to be Fermi or Pico. It's joining the clues in the list. And so I hope that makes sense. It might need some playing around with, some back and forth amongst yourself to really kind of understand this code and build it from scratch. It's easy to just read it out. I mean, I can read this so I can tell what's going on. But if you actually wanted to build this yourself, I found that I wouldn't have straight away thought to put in clues like that. It's something that wouldn't have necessarily came to me immediately. at the intermediate level, but after a while, you got to have. Well, I think it's so much easier to have the clues list here, and I've come to realize it later after you kind of build it up gradually. You go, oh gosh, I get into this problem. And how do you fix that? Well, the way to fix it is to put it into clues, then to append it, and that's how you get this function to work. Okay, so here on the left is what my build is looking like at the moment. I've created a doc string. We've imported the random function. We have a kind of a variable here that's important, and we've thus far created two functions. GetSecretNumber function that returns a string made up of 3 unique random digits, and it will keep on returning new 3 unique random digits depending on whether the user wants to play the game again. It'll come up with a new number. And the second function is the getClues function that deals with returning Pico, Fermi, or Bagels clues. So those are the two functions. So now we're going to move over to the last function, and that function is the main function. So here's the main function, and I'm going to read through this function and explain how it works. So it's a main function. I'm not going to go into main and name in this video, but it's the main function. And here we have a string, an F string, and this is what the user sees when it prints out. And we have a new variable here called number of digits. Notice how that's the same, number of digits. There's number of digits there. All right, so it's not new. We've already got it over here. So I'm thinking of a 3-digit number with no repeated digits, and it reads out that again. So in the main function here, we have a while loop. The main function starts at line 26 and it finishes at line 54. And there's also the if name equals main statement down here. So just remember that that's down there as well. So this while true. So it's a while true loop. It's the main game loop. And this stores the secret number the player needs to guess. So the secret number equals get secret number. So that secret number variable has as its value, it's calling the secret number function, which we've already written. So secret number is that randomly defined return secret number. So that's there. That's good. And next it will say, I have thought up a number. Print, then it's saying you have maximum guesses. Now maximum guesses is new. We don't have that over here. So you could write maximum guesses in here. And you could change this so you could have 20 guesses or whatever. And you have 10 guesses to get it. That's in F string. Now, we have a while loop within a while loop, which we can do. And the while loop, this while loop, line 33, is saying while the number of guesses, right? So now number of guesses, that's a new variable. and it's called 1, because you're going to have guesses, and it's going to start off at 1 and finish at 10. So we're starting off at 1 here. But while the number of guesses is less than or equal to the maximum guesses, 10, up here, then the guess, so here's this word guess, it's not a global variable, it's a local variable, but guess appears a number of times in the main function. While the number of guesses is less than the maximum guesses, guess is an open string. Keep looping until they enter a valid guess. Now this part here, this particular loop, what is the point of this loop? Well, it says here, while the length of the guess is not equal to the number of digits, or if the guess is a decimal, then print guess number of guesses, 1, but that changes, number of guesses changes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Guess will equal the input. Now, what is the purpose of this? Well, the purpose of this is when we run this code, right? If I say here, guess number 2, right? And I put in, say, 234, right? Guess number 3, 467, right? The reason we have this code here is because if I put in a decimal place, 4.5, it won't use up a guess, it'll keep me at guess number 4. If I put in less than 3 digits, like 12, it'll still stay at guess number 4. If I put in 6 digits instead of 3 digits, it'll still stay at guess number 4. So it demands that the user puts in 3 digits in order to use up a guess. And when you use up a guess, it obviously goes to the guess number 5, 5, 6, 7. So the reason we have this while loop here is to do that. But it keeps on going, of course. Clues equals get clues, so it's creating a new variable called clues, and that clues is calling the get clues function, which requires 2 parameters, guess and secret number. Well, where does it get the guess parameter from? How does that come about? Well, it comes from up here. There's guess here, right? And secret number is up here. So it's getting the secret number from there, and the guess it's getting from here, right? It's saying while it's less than number of digits or not. That's where the guess is coming from. It's coming up here, from up here. Right. So now the number of guesses, this is an augmented assignment operator, and that's what keeps the number of guesses going from 1, 2 to 3, because it adds 1 to 1, so 1 plus 1 equals 2, then it assigns it to number of guesses, then it runs through the while loop again and goes 2 plus, that'll be 2 then, but 2 plus 1 equals 3, and then it assigns that to the number of guesses, right? But if the guess equals the secret number, then break it. That's how you break out of this while loop. If the number of guesses is greater, if the number of guesses is greater than the maximum number of guesses, which is up here, 10, print you run out of guesses. The answer is the secret number, so it will reveal the secret number once you run out of guesses. And so then that will finish the last line of that while loop if it already hasn't broken out of it via guessing the secret number correctly. Here we now continue with the first of the while loop, the overall while loop, and then it just says, do you want to play again? Yes or no? And if the input is not nothing, and it will lower the input, and provided it starts with a yes, if it starts with a yes, then that means yes, it'll break, and says thanks for playing. If I hear it saying, if you enter anything else other than that doesn't start with a Y, right? If I enter like Snuffleupagus, it's gonna say thanks for playing. But as long as it starts with the letter Y, if I could put in like yellow, and that will read as start the game again, keep on playing. So, that's one way to exit a game. It doesn't require a yes or a no. You can just start with a Y. So it's Y to play again. Anything that starts with the Y, or any other word other than anything that starts with the Y, will exit it. And it says thanks for playing. So the entire code, that's the entire code.